guys, I'm at this park. Today I wanted to share a quick message that I did for a group of students at our high school. Just in case you didn't know, I grew up playing sports. I grew up playing basketball and soccer, and so that was a big part of my growing up years. And one particular moment that I remember as if it was yesterday was when I was playing basketball. It was my freshman year, and the team was doing really well, the varsity team. I got called up on the varsity team, which was, always an honor when you're a freshman to be able to suit up with the varsity team. Very cool. It was a lot of fun. Didn't think I'd play at all, and I honestly didn't really play at all, but it was a lot of fun to be there. And we had pretty much 11 seniors on this team, so maybe not 11, but it was a whole team worth of. All right, so I'm a little nervous because there's a chipmunk around here that thinks I have food for it, and I don't. But I'm worried it's not really wild, but it's kind of trained. It's gonna nibble on me or something. So anyway, we get to this game, end of the season. Winner state, loser out. So the stakes are extremely high. And the game was fantastic, back and forth, back and forth. We make a kind of a rally. We get within a couple points, and the game's down to a couple seconds, maybe 9 or 10 seconds left. Everything's on the line for the seniors. Everything's on the line. This is their season. And so there I am. I'm at the end of the bench, literally at the end of the bench. And I hear, "Hadley, get in here." It's me? What? So I'm looking around, and so I come into the huddle, and he's like, "Hadley, we're gonna run a play for you. You're gonna take the last shot." And I just saw the look in all of the seniors' eyes, and they were looking at me "Coach, what are you doing here?" I quickly kind of gathered myself and said, "Okay, I got to be ready to go here. I got to be ready to go." And drew up the play. We got out there. And, okay, hold on. This chipmunk here, I'll show you. There he is. Look at him. Look at him. I think he wants, a snack, but I don't have a snack for him, so. Look at him. Look at him go. Yeah, I'm not going to give him a snack, but my goodness. Oh, he's itching his fleas. Oh, okay. There I am. I go into the game last second, and, there's a couple seconds left on the clock. I go into the game. The ball comes exactly my way, just as coach had planned, shooting the last shot of the game. Ball goes up in the air. It's one of those moments where it seems like the ball's, in the air forever. I think back to that moment, and I think about the two perspectives that were in that huddle. My perspective was, hey, I was just happy to be there. I'm a freshman, very competitive. I still had interest in the game, but I really didn't have the same skin in the game. This was their last hurrah. If we lost that game, they were done for the season. They were done for their careers as high schoolers, which I've been through, and it's kind of a tough thing. And then there was my perspective, which was I was just happy to be there. Again, I was excited. I was competitive. It wasn't like I was throwing the game away or didn't care. Actually, I was very serious in the moment, but I knew that I had another 3 years to get to this moment again. And so I guess I didn't quite have that pressure-packed worry or anxiety about that moment. Even some of the guys in tears afterwards, it meant everything to them. You could feel and sense the pressure that they had to, win that game, and it meant so much to them. And even that ending being out of their control, I can't imagine how deflated maybe they felt. And so I share that story because when we think about life, there's several perspectives that we can have. There's the one where we're anxious and worried, and like that senior class, that's all we can think about, or life circumstances consume our thoughts, and all of those things that I didn't really worry in that moment what the outcome was going to be. Though I cared about the moment, I just had a different perspective of it. Does that make sense? So let me try to explain these two perspectives to you as it pertains to our everyday lives. I do have a reason for telling this story, making this comparison and analogy here. Keeping up with the analogy, the perspective from the senior's point of view. When we live life like that, really it's chaotic. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of worry, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of depression when things don't go the way that we thought. And it's really just an overwhelming moment by moment, fear of the future type of perspective. Every analogy breaks down somewhere, so I'm not saying that that's what my senior teammates were feeling in those moments. But in that perspective, there's really no part of that that's hopeful, that is restful. And honestly, if we live like that for too long, there's even studies to say that, it can affect our health, mental health, it can affect our physical health. If we live in such a way where we are always burdened with the anxiety and worry of the world, and that's how we live moment by moment. And then we have our second perspective, and that's the perspective I really want to share with you, because I believe wholeheartedly that it is a way that we were designed to live and to flourish. Not just because I've experienced it in my life, but because I've seen it over and over be true in other people's lives as well. And that perspective is found through our trust in Jesus Christ. Now, you probably knew this is where I was headed, but it really is the only piece that I've seen or found that truly gives us rest and takes away that anxiety and worry that we can so easily run ourselves into. See, God promises us a couple things when we trust our lives to Him. The first is found in Philippians 4, 6, and 7. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let a request be made known to God." And that's basically just telling Him, hey, I can't do it. I need your help in this situation, whatever crisis it might be. And with thanksgiving, knowing that He is going to come alongside you, that He is going to be with you, that you're not by yourself, that you're not alone. And this is then what He promises when we do this, when we bring our requests, when we bring ourselves to Him. He says that His peace, which surpasses all understanding, will guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. I don't know about you guys, but when life gets difficult and there is crisis or situations that are beyond our control, it is so hopeful to know that we have a God who knows us, cares about us, loves us, and then provides peace, not only in our hearts, but in our minds. Because I think sometimes in those situations we can, our minds get running, and it's cool to know that that's something that He offers to us. And then the second thing that He offers out of Matthew 6, when He's talking at the end of, it's in the Sermon on the Mount, but He's basically talking about us not being anxious about anything, because basically He's, uses the example of creation. The birds, they don't have anyone feed them. They don't need anyone to come and feed them, because He takes care of them. Like, tomorrow is going to take care of itself, is what He's talking about. And then he says to those who are following Him, don't worry about what you're going to wear tomorrow or the food that you're going to eat, because tomorrow will worry about itself. And He's not literally talking about food or clothes, because we do need to get those things for ourselves, but He's talking about the provision of those things. And when you think about it, if you don't have to worry about the provision ultimately, like, yes, we get fired from a job and we wonder where our next job's going to be, where the money is going to come from. But what He's saying is, you don't have to worry in that situation, because just like the birds, I'll take care of you. And so that's a pretty powerful promise that God has for those who trust in Him, which then represents this perspective that He's offering anyone who would freely choose Him. What kind of perspective would you rather have in life? The one that's chaotic, the one that's hopeless, the one that's going from crisis to crisis, wondering and worrying about life in general? And I just don't find that long term can be sustainable or healthy or helpful. And then there's the second perspective, one of not living in that crisis moment and with all the worry and stress and the anxiety of what the next moment's going to be. They promise that they'll be there with you and that they'll supply every need that you have. Now, that doesn't mean that life is always going to go perfectly and that you won't have troubles or all of those things, because you will have troubles. Like, that's life. You can't avoid trouble in life. We don't go looking for it, but trouble finds us. Trials, difficulties, those things will happen. But wouldn't you much rather go through that with the promise that someone is in control, that someone else has all the details figured out, even if you can't see them right now? And that's the perspective that I wish all of us would have the opportunity to live by, and that Jesus is offering to each of us freely through his son, Jesus. And that is the perspective I pray all of us would have, because, man, life is already too difficult, and to have to put all of that extra weight and burden on ourselves is it's just too much. I guess you probably want to know the end of my epic shot, right? So that's probably why you either skip to the end here or you've stuck through my whole analogy to get to the end. So the ball is in the air, and it's an epic shot. It actually bounced around the rim as everyone looked on, and unfortunately it did not go in. I could have been the hero, and instead I was the one who let all of those seniors down, and I felt bad about it. I mean, it was tough to watch them, really upset in the locker room, but that's how the ball rolls sometimes, and unfortunately it wasn't my day. Although I watched that shot back over and over and over, and it looked good every single time. So, oh well, that's how it goes. But perspective, have the right perspective in life. It's important. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.